Hello, my lovely dreamers, and welcome back to yet another Lucid Dreaming Challenge. This is Lucid Dreaming Challenge number 9, and it is one of the easiest ways to start spontaneously lucid dreaming, so I'm excited for you guys to try this if you haven't tried this yet. So there's 2 different steps to this Lucid Dreaming Challenge. The first one is doing 10 reality checks in a day before you go to bed. So you don't have to start this the day that you're seeing this, but maybe the next day after you see this, dedicate to doing 10 reality checks in a day. Now, a reality check is really just checking which reality you're in. And the more we can do this habitually, the more we can become aware throughout the day, the more aware we will be in our dreams. So when it comes to doing a reality check, there's 2 parts to doing an efficient reality check. There's the mental reality check and the physical reality check. Now, every single time you do a reality check, you want to do mental reality checks as well as physical reality checks. So for a mental reality check, it's as simple as asking yourself questions to determine which reality you're in, to determine if you are sleeping right now, dreaming right now, or if you're actually awake. So think about the questions you would ask yourself if you were in a dream and you really wanted to figure out if you were dreaming or not. How do I know that I'm awake right now? Is there anything odd or weird about what I'm experiencing right now? Do I know how I got here? Do I know who I am with? Is there anything different about where I am than what I usually experience in waking life? What was I doing 10 minutes ago? These are all amazing questions to help you determine if you are actually awake or if you are dreaming. And you really want to take these questions seriously, because every time we dream in a non-lucid dream, we assume that we're awake, right? And in waking life, we get into that same habit. We always assume that we're awake. And so when we start to ask ourselves these questions, you may experience the brain or the mind saying, oh, we're definitely not dreaming right now. This is way too solid to be a dream. Oh, stop. This can't be a dream, right? You'll hear that voice in your head that will try to talk you out of taking your reality check seriously. But we always assume that we are awake in our dreams. So that part of the mind hasn't been helpful in the past, right? To determining if we were actually dreaming or not. And so we really don't want to invest in that chatter that comes up with our reality checks. We really want to get into the state of assuming we could be dreaming at any time. And the more you can assume that you're dreaming at any time, or you could be dreaming at any time, the more you're going to have that same assumption when you're dreaming, and you'll take these questions a little bit more seriously. So throughout the day, you want to stop and ask yourself these series of questions, or whatever questions you want to add into this, or however you want to do this in your own practice, but you want to get into the habit of questioning if you could be dreaming or not, and how you actually know that you're awake. You don't want to just ask these questions to yourself, you want to actually answer them. So when I ask myself, what was I doing 10 minutes ago, I want to work my day backwards, right? And of course, if you get in the habit of doing this, and you habitually ask yourself this in the dream, you won't be able to completely tie back your day to lead you to where you are right now, right? And so you really want to ask questions that will really help you determine if you are awake or not. So instead of just assuming that you're always awake, which has obviously influenced your dreams up to this point, you want to get in the habit of assuming this could be a dream and looking at your environment to figure out how you know it's a dream or not. So that is the mental portion of the reality check. Now, the physical portion is doing physical checks. Now, I talk about this a lot on my channel. I would definitely recommend checking out the videos on reality checks in the beginners playlist if you are new to reality checks. But basically, we want to do physical reality checks throughout the day because, again, anything that we do in waking state, if it becomes a natural habit, then that will end up showing up in our dreams. So I get a lot of questions about, like, well, I do reality checks in waking life, but they're not showing up in my dreams. Now, you don't have to worry about trying to get them to show up. They will naturally show up if it becomes a subconscious habit. So if your reality checks aren't showing up in your dreams, you probably need to take them a little bit more seriously, maybe do them for a little bit longer when you do them, and maybe more frequently as well. Because again, we want to make this a habit. So in order to make a reality check a habit, you need to do it at least 10 times in a day. So when it comes to physical reality checks, The reason why we do this is because the dream world does not act in the same way as our waking reality, right? So when you count your fingers in waking life, you should have the same amount of fingers that you always do. And if you look away and look back, you should still have the same amount of fingers. They should look like your hands, right? But once you start getting in the habit of looking at your hands closely, you're going to start dreaming of looking at your hands closely. And the dream world is not going to replicate the same details on your hands in waking life. So that's one reason why we use our hands for our reality checks, because whatever we spend our time looking at the most or doing throughout the day is going to start showing up on our dreams. And we're not guaranteed to have a specific object with us, right? And so I always talk to my clients about using their hands, using what's on your physical body to do a reality check. So a physical reality check is really just trying to see the illusion in our checks, right? Which will help us to determine if we're dreaming or not. So along with asking yourself the questions, as far as the mental reality check, you want to look closely at your physical environment to go along with that questioning. So after you've asked yourself those series of questions, or as you're looking at your hands or doing your reality checks, you want to start looking at your environment more closely. Okay, the lines on my hands look normal. I have 10 fingers, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Look away. Okay, it looks the same. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Perfect. That result of that reality check showed me that I'm awake because my hands didn't change. And if I was dreaming, my hands would have changed in some way. Now, once you start doing this and your reality checks do show up in your dreams, you'll have like 10 fingers on one hand, or they won't even be your hands. And you've trained yourself to look closely in waking life. So when these reality checks do show up in your dreams, you've already trained yourself to look closely, and you'll be able to see the illusion. You'll be able to see that it is a dream. So there are so many different things you can also use for reality checks. It doesn't just have to be your hands, but there are a few involving your hands for a reason, because you should always have your hands. So aside from counting your fingers, that's one amazing reality check because it works like 95% of the time. If your hands show up in your dreams, they'll most likely look different. Another one is trying to poke your finger through your palm. Now, of course, if we are awake right now, it will not go through. It will be solid like it usually is, right? Unless you have like a hole in your hand that has been there for a while in waking life. But this result, the result of solidity, is one way that I can tell that I am probably awake right now. Now, if you get in the habit of doing this throughout the day, along with your mental reality checks, you're going to start doing this in the dream. You're going to start trying to poke your finger through your palm. And because the dream is illusionary, it's going to not be solid in the dream. So if you get in the habit of doing this throughout the day, when you dream of doing this, your finger's actually going to go through your hand, right? So you've trained yourself to see the illusion in that physical reality check. So you can play around with this. I definitely recommend doing some physical checks with your mental checks. The mental questioning is almost more important because you can count your fingers a million times, but if you haven't trained yourself to look closely at your environment and you haven't trained yourself to ask questions, to tap into awareness and to determine if you're dreaming or not, even if you do have 20 fingers in the dream, you're not going to be aware enough to realize that it is a dream. So the mental reality checks really help with your awareness and your questioning, and the physical checks are basically the last thing that we want to do to determine, oh, yep, this is a dream. That will kind of show the brain that's seeing this in the dream, oh, yeah, that definitely is not a waking life result, right? So you definitely want to have the physical check with the mental check. And again, I do have videos on reality checks if you would like a full breakdown, but pretty much you want to do the mental and physical checks at least 10 times a day. Now you can set your alarm for every hour if you want to. You can have little sticky notes around your house that say, check if you're dreaming. How do you know that you're awake right now? Like I have. I also have a bracelet that says, are you dreaming? So anytime I look down at that, I must check if I'm awake or dreaming. It's all about using your physical environment to remind you to check in, to become aware, to determine if you are dreaming or not. So doing that 10 times in a day, especially if you do this every day, will help to ingrain the habit of awareness and questioning your environment, which is exactly the mindset that we need to have consistent lucid dreams. And if you create a habit of this, if you create a habit of awareness and questioning, you're going to create a habit of awareness and questioning in your dreams, which will obviously lead to more lucid dreams. Now that is the first part to this challenge. The second part is very, very simple. You want to go to bed at least 30 minutes early. Now, not only do we double our chances in lucid dreaming if we go to bed earlier, but we also go to bed more aware because we're not so tired we're just gonna zonk out and literally wake up in the morning and not remember anything. This going to bed a little bit earlier helps with dream recall. You're going to be more present during your dreams, and you're also going to recall more of your dreams because you went into bed with more awareness. You'll also be able to spend some time as you're falling asleep to create the dream that you want to have, or maybe do a visualization technique to help you get lucid. So going to bed a little bit earlier has a few different benefits when it comes to this practice, and it would go really, really well with doing those 10 reality checks a day, again, that include the mental and the physical check. Those together, along with going to bed a little bit earlier, is definitely a recipe for more lucid dreams, and creating a habit of this as well. You will definitely see a change in how aware you are in your dreams, the dream recall that you do have, and you'll be able to carry that awareness longer into your sleep and throughout your techniques. We don't want to go to bed when we're so tired we can barely keep our eyes open. We want to kind of lead ourselves, kind of guide ourselves into sleep with more awareness. Now, when it comes to lucid dreaming, awareness is the name of the game. So these practices really do help you anchor more of that awareness to increase your chances of lucid dreaming. So I would love to hear your guys' input on this, how many reality checks you do a day, what kind of reality checks you do, whether it's physical checks or the questions that you ask yourself, and what time you usually go to bed as well, and how that has influenced your dreams. I would love to hear it, my friends. So thank you so much for tuning into this lucid dreaming challenge. As always, I love you so much, and I'm sending you endless love and endless lucidity.